Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to another Nerd Nation podcast. This time it's a debate podcast. We're talking Ubisoft games, mainly Assassin's Creed and mainly Watch Dogs, but we'll obviously talk about a few other things as well if need be. I have a couple of guests with me today. First of all, my usual partner in crime, cousin Cheeto. Hello, how you doing?
Howdy, howdy.
And our very special guest and also a partner in crime, Ass Dog, Ginger Greek. How you doing, my son?
All good, sir. All good.
Nice video you made earlier. I'm glad I inspired you to do it.
Yes,
Excellent.
thank you. Yes, the ridiculousness of that outrage that I hadn't heard of until then was just like, oh yeah, now I remember why I've unsubscribed from so many things. But that's not the topic of the video.
And if
So,
people want to know what I was just talking about with Ginger, just go look for Ginger Greek on YouTube and you'll find his YouTube channel. Okay, so let's talk about what we're here to talk about. Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, mainly. Cousin Cheeto has been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Myself and Ginger Greek have been playing Watch Dogs Legions. We got a lot of stuff to talk about regarding these games and the future of Ubisoft games and all of that shit. I'm going to start off with Bobby here, Mr. Assassin's Creed, a franchise I very much love, but understand is still as fuck. Go on, just give us a few things you want to tell us about Assassin's Creed, please, Bob.
Okay, so Assassin's Creed, very near and dear to my heart, as Zam said. Although Zam's been a fan longer than I have, Zam introduced me to Assassin's Creed because he is the original assassin. Just my overall thoughts at this point on Valhalla. I've played about 7 hours worth so far, and I finally made it last night to the title card. So, it's very okay. So I didn't play, and a little bit more background. I didn't play Odyssey. So, this is probably, and I played about halfway through Origins. I was talking with you gentlemen a little bit last night about this, but I like the story of this one. I like the assassin. I opted to go with the female Eivor because there are just not enough female assassins in Assassin's Creed, and I feel like she's pretty badass. I really like her. But the gameplay is very hack and slashy, and I know that's how it was in Origins, and I'm hearing that's what it was in Odyssey. So I don't like. I kind of like the old Assassin's Creed 2, Ezio era, Assassin's Creed 3, where you could, and even Black Flag, where you could be meticulous and you could go through a whole fight just countering people, by timing everything right. And I'm sorry, I just running around and hitting the R1 and R2 buttons for heavy hit and then L1 for a block. That's just not my jam. I don't like that. I'd rather be a little bit more meticulous, a little bit more, honestly, a little bit more defensive. Like, I'd rather for them to come at me and then I block it and kill them. So, the gameplay for me is a little bit meh. It reminds me a lot of Assassin's Creed 3 with the snowy settings and the hunting and stuff like that. But it also reminds me a lot of Black Flag with, instead of, being a pirate and, killing all the, or raiding ships, you're raiding villages, in Norway. And as I said, we just little minor spoiler, but I just got to the title card and we're just now heading to England. So I'm sure there's much more for me to open up here. It is a really massive world. I was exploring a lot. And there was just so many little secrets and all these little, all this other stuff that I just was trying to explore. But the gameplay for me is, it's a bit hack and slashy. And I just, and I know that'll be a huge, that's not the most important part to me. And I know that's the more important to you guys, but for me, a good story and a good character is more important than phenomenal gameplay. So that's pretty much my overview of my first 7 to 8 hours of Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
7 to 8 and you're still in Norway.
Huh?
7 to 8 and you're still in Norway.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. 50 hours long.
But keep in mind, I did a lot. Yeah. If you just do the straight missions, you'll probably be out of there in 3 or 4 hours. So I did a lot of exploring of the area.
Yeah, fair enough. And as you,
I mean, and even in Norway, I'm sure we'll return to Norway, but it's still a really massive area, and we have not even made it to England yet.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, I was going to ask because like one of my problems with Assassin's Creed is I feel like it's losing its roots a little bit what it means to be assassin. The last game, there was no creed even. It wasn't even a fort. It was set so far in the past, and they were trying to maybe make more of a link with the previous civilization and stuff like that. And obviously, Assassin's Creed Origins was the origins of the assassins, and things like their white gown was just one of the early assassins just picking up a random robe and using it as a disguise. So that's so the point I'm trying to get is that these established assassins and this universe, it is not there. And the title for Valhalla, the subtitle was "Be a Viking." No, motherfucker, I want to be a goddamn assassin. I like the sneakiness. I love all of that. There's so many hack and slash shit nowadays. This needs to be at its core an Assassin's game, and it wants to be this grandiose affair of epic battles, and I'm not liking this direction at all.
James? Yeah. I mean, I think Assassin's Creed has completely lost its identity. It's not what it was. It's just become like another generic RPG game, where it really doesn't need to be. It was an action stealth kind of, track your enemy, kill your enemy how you kind of want, assassinate targets and all of that. Now, why am I doing raids and pillaging, or why am I with Greek forces doing this and that? It's like I shouldn't be doing this. This wasn't like the original point of the game. The point is, I'm an assassin. I'm in a creed. I've got some targets. It's all linked to like Adam and Eve and all that pish, and that's it. It was there. It was just putting together the past and just having a lot of fun with it. I mean, I had problems with like the Assassin's Creed in that a lot of the stealth element was shite.
I will be right back. I forgot to plug in my internet to the network thing. So
all right, no problem, dude.
So you guys keep going.
Yeah,
we'll keep it going.
But the game kind of, I think the game found itself early on with Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, and then it really peaked into excellence with 4 and Rogue. Syndicate and Unity, they're underrated games. I really enjoyed those games. I thought they were great. They moved away from the whole shipping thing and the pirate thing and that. But it felt like Assassin's Creed, and it was just hitting its stride in terms of stealth, ducking, hiding behind bloody things. And then as soon as it does that, it goes off and becomes an RPG with the shittest combat in the world. And sorry if you hear explosions, fireworks going off in my area. And yeah, it's just not a game. I just don't enjoy it anymore. Origins was so boring that Odyssey and Valhalla are just two games I'm not even going to bother.
Sorry, you're going to have to give me a second. I got more.
Yeah, no worries. And so, yep, that's where I am. I think Assassin's Creed, it's not really Assassin's Creed anymore. It's here's a point in time in history and do stuff. And it's an RPG and you can level up. And that's about it. And still lacks like, a good multiplayer bloody game as well. Like, I mean, you're a Viking for one, and you can't do multiplayer with this. You can't do your raids. You can't assassinate targets together. I know they tried and failed in Unity, but that was a long fucking time ago.
Jesus, look at you chopping at that cliff. That cliff is really getting it.
Well, and that's the other thing. As I said, the gameplay it's still got that Assassin's Creed parkour that, that just. And as I said, I skipped out on I skipped out on what's
Odyssey.
It called? Odyssey and Origins. And as I said, this gameplay, as you can see, is very hack and slashy. I tried to sneak around early on in the game. Like if you go in and by the way, this is my gameplay on my channel, Milquetoast Gaming, link in the description. But yeah, like this is kind of like the first like big battle. I tried sneaking around. The problem is that you weren't even meant to sneak around. Like I realized it halfway through. I'm like, wait a minute, why am I, like, why is this not working? And
Yeah.
it's like you're not meant to sneak around. You're meant to go in there and just like this, hack and slash. And as I said, if there's one big downfall of the game, that's what it would be. As I said, I do like Eivor. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's not much of a difference between the male and the female counterpart. Just how they talk.
Yeah.
So I do like Eivor. I do like the story so far. Don't get me wrong. And I know that's kind of where you guys are like, I don't want this classic RPG. That's kind of the parts about it that I like in this game. And it's story focused, and that's what I like. But as you can see, the gameplay suffers for it because all you're doing is running into a village, hack and slash. And as you'll see, I mean, I just run around and try to pillage everything because I'm an RPGer. I'm going around just trying to find all the little
secrets. Yeah, that stupid fucking loot that we don't need. Exactly.
And I agree. I mean, as I said, it's not, well, I mean, for my type of gameplay, and then there's me just trying to hit my own guy.
As you do.
But yeah, I mean, there has not been a single mission of sneaking around. Well, there's been one mission about sneaking around, and it eventually turned out that I just had to hack and slash my way in. There is definitely not a focus on the original snap, and I will agree with you guys on that. That I do miss that. I do miss the fact that like that sneaking around and and assassinating, picking a target and assassinating. I mean, at this point in the game, and this is minor spoilers, you're not an assassin. You're a Viking. You meet the assassins a little bit later, and they start to obviously like the like Kenway, they start inducting you into their doctrine and everything like that. And I mean, but it's still, you guys are right. Assassin's Creed has lost its way, I feel, from its early onset, Ezio style, and even some of Assassin's Creed 3. Like, I think Black Flag is where they started to really veer off. And don't get me wrong, Black Flag was fun. I had a blast playing Black Flag. But that's when it really lost its like AC feeling for me.
Oh, story-wise, yeah. Gameplay-wise, no. But
yeah, no. Gameplay-wise, it was still pretty fun, and it's still. But yeah, storyline-wise, yeah. Like that's why it's like.
Yeah, post Desmond, it started getting crazy, and it was already crazy prior to Desmond. So
yeah.
So and I can't speak anything to the modern storyline because I just got to the first point of the modern storyline. So
I don't even know what the fuck's. I mean, I actually do like the modern part of the game because it kind of makes sense of this world you're living in, and repeat if you die and stuff like that. It makes sense, but at the same time, I'm totally lost with it now. Like, I don't even know what their end game is, what their goal is. I mean, in the first with the Desmond storyline, it was about to stop a solar flare, which would have created the third civilization, because these people, Desmond, them lot, they're the second civilization. And this sort of thing happens every time, every few thousand years, I believe, every 20,000 years.
It seems like there's a new storyline that piggybacks off that original storyline. More spoilers here, but I mean, do you guys care?
No.
Yeah,
I mean, there's like an Aurora Borealis that is like consistently happening, and it's basically knocking satellites out of the sky. And it's like it's kind of done the opposite.
They've Emperor Palpatined it.
Huh?
They've Emperor Palpatined it, man. Like this feels like it's coming. This never felt like, even stuff like what happened with Assassin's Creed 3, that was built up with Assassin's Creed Revelations. All of a sudden now they just Emperor Palpatine this episode with this revelation that the world's gonna fucking end again. I mean, please, they've got to be a lot more intelligent than that.
No, here's the thing. They're not saying that the world's going to end. It's just they're basically saying they're going to have to change the way they communicate and everything, because satellites are falling out of the sky and radio, like the King's radio, because apparently whatever happened in Assassin's Creed 3 supercharged the atmosphere, not the atmosphere, but like the radiation shield around, the Earth, like 10,000 times. So it makes it harder for radio waves to go, and it makes it harder for for satellites to stay in orbit and stuff like that.
Oh god.
I don't know. I mean, it seems interesting, but as I said,
I've already lost the will to live.
Yeah. They can't make it a lot more smart. I mean, so the ESO are not involved in it anymore.
Yeah, there's talk of the ESO or whatever they're called.
Well, they made them
I
Greek
completely
gods in
forgot
Odyssey.
about them until this game.
Yeah, but they made them Greek gods in Odyssey, which was so stupid. So people like Zeus and stuff, they were all Isu. They were,
that makes a
Hades
lot
was
of sense.
Isu. So yeah, but it's still stupid. It's still stupid though, because people will be living for eternity in Hades underworld and shit like that. It's just started to break away from reality, and even though it was already broken from reality from the get-go, it was just really it just became it's too crazy, just too stupid. Like, what the hell are we doing here? I'll let you go crazy, weird, bizarre for so long, and now you go all over the fucking place. It's just too much.
Exactly.
But I do love this series, and I'm hoping that this is the last of a line of shit, because Ubisoft have been getting a lot of shit. Because one of the things Ubisoft does a lot in their games is large amount of repetition all over the fucking place. Big map, do this there, do this there, do this there, do this fucking everywhere. And that's what you get with Ubisoft games. You get it with Assassin's Creed. You definitely get it in Watch Dogs, and I'll bring that up when we talk about that. And so I'm not surprised they could put these shitty little mini games like this drinking shit. I swear to God, I'll try it once. I'll never fucking do it again. Because this is not what I'm playing fucking Assassin's Creed for shit like this. No, I want to assassinate people. But you still have to freshen it up. I mean, they really need to get out of the repetition book and get with the originality a little bit. It's all great they're making a fucking big world, but add shit to it. Make it fleshed out. Evolve the fucking game in a way that is different.
Look, the best way to evolve the game is to evolve the gameplay, and they were doing that. And then they took a step massive back with fucking Origins, where they reverted back to just a really bad version of Dead Souls with a poor combat, and just it was a complete devolution of the gameplay.
I would say though, Syndicate was a bit of a backward step when it comes to some of the combat. They tried to make it very British fisticuffs like that, and it didn't work for me.
They went backwards on the combat after, I think it was Brotherhood, where they simplified the combat too much.
No, see, I disagree. I think in Assassin's Creed 3 and even in Black Flag, they still had some pretty good gameplay in there. But yeah, I agree with you. Kind of getting past, and even in Rogue, there was still the elements of, it's when they started that hack and slash crap that hit this button to, and then they took the counters out. Like, yeah, you can parry now, but it's like, I don't care.
No, but there's a lot of, like, in every Assassin's Creed game, the familiarity is good, but sometimes the formula you find to be very stale. Massive bases just for you to clean everyone out.
To be honest, they like Assassin's Creed should have just been put to bed, and they should have just done something completely different. Nothing, not tied to Assassin's Creed. They could have just done this kind of shit, like chapters in history as one-offs. Nothing to do with Assassin's Creed. It's kind of like Skull and Bones was supposed to be a spin-off from Assassin's Creed, not tied to it, but just, it took a segment of that gameplay and just, was going to do its own thing with it. And that's what they should have just done with Assassin's Creed. They said, you know what, Assassin's Creed is done for now, but we're just going to do period piece games. So here's one in ancient Greece, here's one in that, and nothing to do with Assassins. And it would have been less annoying. Here's
the thing, they can do that, and I mean, look what game came out recently that they did that. Ghost of Tsushima, and it was very successful, and it was very good.
It sold really well.
Fucking fantastic game.
They could have just called this game Valhalla, and I mean, just had Eivor and no assassin. I mean, honestly, as I said, the first 7 hours, there's barely been any kind of assassin.
I mean, if you think about it, they brought out a game like this on its own, just Vikings. A lot of people wanted Vikings, not necessarily in Assassin's Creed, but just in general. And you could then just make a couple of sequels from this era as well. Because now they can't really go Japan because Ghost of Tsushima beat them to it.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
think
that's
they
what
can still go to.
everybody
No,
wanted. I
And be
wanted.
like, yeah, but in Ghost of Tsushima you could do this, and this you can't really do fuck all. So what's the point in buying this or playing this?
I think they can go to Japan. I think just because Ghost of Tsushima is done, it doesn't mean they can't. Obviously, if anything, they can use Ghost of Tsushima as a blueprint of what they want to do.
Yeah, but then everybody will say it's just the Ghost of Tsushima Assassin's
Yeah.
Creed.
No, I agree. I do agree. I do agree, but I still think just because there's nothing saying that they can't do it just because Ghost of Tsushima's got there first. I mean, this is their shtick. This is Ubisoft fucking thing. They've got more fucking games than I've got fucking fingers.
Yeah,
You know
well,
what I mean?
but I mean, look at Uncharted though. I mean, they ended it. I mean, or at least they ended the Nathan Drake line.
Mate, they're still keeping Uncharted going in any way possible, which is why they're making a fucking movie. So even if they're not making a video game, they're still fucking keeping that franchise going. We're living in a different era. You guys have to understand.
Series that don't really mean anything.
No, but the point is, our era is different now. Like back in the day, in the 80s and shit, you would watch Star Wars, you watch Indiana Jones, Rambo, whatever. Those that had trilogies and whatever, and it was done, and there was no talk about it. We moved on. Nowadays, they milk the fuck out of everything. So they'll milk the fuck out of everything until we hate it. That's how it works nowadays.
Well, the problem with things like I mean, the comparisons there are not just because those are tied to actors who made those roles. So when they say I'm done, that's it. There's not much else you could do. But in terms of games and that, they'll just milk a franchise. They'll just keep going until it doesn't sell anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Assassin's Creed, the only thing it's going is its lineage, and that can only take you so far. I mean, we got a shitload of crap fucking Star Wars movies, and it took for several of them to be really shit for people to not give a fuck anymore. And Assassin's Creed is no fucking different. I'm not getting this game until it gets a lot cheaper, and because the reviews for this game didn't warrant me to want to get it. Once I started hearing people talking about the repetition, which is one of the worst things Ubisoft does, so much of it, with their formulaic way of doing things, which I can't handle.
Well, the repetition is bad because the games are just really long as well.
Unnecessarily long, but they're very formulaic. Yeah. And I want to jump onto Watch Dogs now.
Yeah.
Because talking about formulaic, that game also pretty much, I don't even know how to even put this into words, but it obviously it follows the previous patterns of follows the patterns of the previous games, but it doesn't necessarily bring as much new to the table as you expect it to be by being able to bring any NPC. That only brings a new factor in for a very short period of time before you realize you can pretty much do a lot of this shit with pretty much everyone for a start. And that kind of made me a little bit upset. There's not much diversity in the gameplay, and you end up going to the same fucking venues to redo missions. The amount of times I've been to fucking Waterloo, and having to go underneath the IMAX to do shit and fucking save a hostage all the fucking time. It's the same fucking shit. The main missions mixed up a little bit. Side missions and some of the recruitment and stuff like that wasn't that too interesting. You kind of get fed up of recruiting after a while, and you stick with the main couple of guys. There's no real need to change around as much as you think you'd have to. I mean, apart from maybe needing an Albion guard to infiltrate Albion. And talking about infiltration, you could be somebody in this game who is able to infiltrate an area because they work in that area, and somehow you're still deemed as suspicious by the guards, which are really fucking stupid. I mean, what's the point? If I'm wearing a fucking uniform, why would that guy find me suspicious? But they do. Maybe your movement, I can understand. If you get caught running, they'll wonder why you're running and stuff like that. If a bomb explodes and everybody's running and you're running, they're still wondering why you're fucking running. That's when the AI fucks up and shit like that. I'm very disappointed in this game. I really am. I wanted to really love this game, and it's got some decent moments. The villains in this game are brilliant. I don't know how you felt about that, James, but I thought the villains in this game were absolutely superb, even though there was a shit story. But other than that, I think they had the chance to shine because there was no main protagonist. But other than that, I'm very disappointed in this game. What you got to say about Ginge?
This ranks up there as the second worst Ubisoft game I've ever played. I hate this game so much that I'm pissed off they even bothered trying to bring it out. Watch Dogs 2, I really, really liked. I played that game for ages. There was a lot of good, you know, there was a lot of, there was a nice variety in the gameplay where you can go back and just have fun with it. The concept is fun. You can pick and recruit anyone in the city. The problem is that the loading times are so bad between switching characters that you just can't be fucking bothered to recruit anyone else because everything's so like jagged and mixed up. So one guy could do this with the loading, and another guy has this weapon, and that guy has that weapon, and their fighting styles and strengths and all of this. That in the end, you're just like, you know what?
Irrelevant.
Pick a really good hacker, a really good fighter, and a really good like
hitman.
You know, a couple of uniformed people and a spy, and in the end, I just ended up using a builder. Some random bloke who had an LMG who turned out to be really good with takedowns, and an Albion guy. They were like my main three that I used, and an MMA fighter. I never even bothered with a fucking spy. But the problem was the loading times in this game are ridiculous. So you want to switch characters, and then it has to like reset everything and then move you away from where you were, and there was just no overall forward thinking in this game. It was just like, this is the idea we have, let's run with it. The gameplay itself was so it was just relegated to what it was before. You know, all the nice little niches and touches and conversations of hacking phones and the variety of different hacks and all that. It was all gone. It was all just the most basic puzzles, the most basic side missions, the most basic everything. A whole city like London, and it's bland and boring. There's fuck all to do in there. There's fuck all to see. The one good thing is riding those big drones, but those things move so bloody slow.
Yeah.
Rendered use.
So like wait a minute, it's like real life London?
Yeah, it's like Ubisoft and Rockstar just love to suck the fun out of gaming. All right, why can't I just a basic jump? Why can't I like do fun like parachute, glide, climb, like why can't I fucking climb a building like in Assassin's Creed? Why isn't there a character that could do that instead of designated areas? There's just no fun to be had. The variety of vehicles is absolute garbage. The storyline, again, I didn't really care about the storyline. In Watch Dogs 2, it was a fun storyline, over the top, silly, but good cheesy fun and great characters. In this, the characters, even the villains, sorry to say, Zam, the villains were just bland, generic.
No, the main villains. I thought they were excellent.
They were terrible. They were just
Mary Kelly was good. That woman who wanted to live for eternity was good.
No, they were all shite.
I saw it coming though. Don't get me wrong. Sorry for spoilers, Bob.
You could see coming.
Yeah, I saw the plot twist coming a mile away.
You know, but again, like the storyline, I never really played this game for the storyline. It's always going to be cheesy and over the top. I just wanted to play it for the gameplay and the action, but it's just boring and it was broken as shit as well. I'm very lucky. Like I got this. I won a voucher for Amazon for 30 quid. So I bought the game, and luckily they have long returns, so I can get a full refund on this game. So I'm very lucky in that regard, because I'm taking this piece of shit back, and I never want to play. It's like the worst game is Ghost Recon Breakpoint. That's their worst game to date. Ubisoft have not changed or evolved from that. That was their apex of shittery, and they're still there. They're still up there. Like I hate. I like it's made me just not want to get any more of their games anymore. And usually I'll give them a pass on a cheap game and all of that. But there's just so much wrong with this game. Basically, there's just not enough in this game. And a city like London, and there's fuck all to do with it.
They made London small as well, as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, it was. I didn't mind that it was. You don't want it like too big, But it's the fact that it was just nothing to do in London. No surprises, no nooks and crannies of ceiling, no nothing. It was just shit.
And you always keep going
Shit
back to the
game.
same locations. That's my
Yeah,
thing.
always.
Always.
Go to the Bloom Tower. Go to the fucking Waterloo Station. Go to the bloody park. It's like, fuck off. Give me some variety.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many places in London. The amount of places they could have used for this game, and the fact that it's such a shallow city.
Yeah,
it's quite sad.
It's quite sad. You can't do anything in it. You can't explore buildings, have fun. You know, it's just, I was just rubbish. Hated it.
Yeah,
I just completed it as well, just 5 minutes ago, because I need to complete games once I have them.
Did you?
Sorry,
the mission. Did you do the Stormzy mission?
No, I haven't. Don't think I've done the Stormzy mission.
It's one of the side missions, but you've got main mission markers spread out over the map, not just at the home base. With some of them are really shit. Some of them say main mission, and it's pretty much
I've only done like 1 or 2 side missions.
Well, some of them say main mission though, and they're supposed to be like a side mission, but really it's something very generic and it doesn't feel like anything. But some of them did catch me by surprise, like the Stormzy one. He basically wants to use the IMAX theater in Waterloo. He wants to use that as a way to like bring out his new video and stuff, but Albion is stopping him. And then you hack the IMAX, and then his video's on there, and then you control some drones and shoot out the evil drones trying to destroy you and stuff. And yeah, that was it. But I'm just this game it needs more. I mean,
it's done. And it's already finished. It's already
it was
done.
delayed. It was delayed, and it was only delayed because they wanted to change some of the abilities of the characters, but the characters themselves, they all do the fucking same thing.
Yeah,
you know, they all have guns. Like one of the things I hated the fact was that you had 3 inventory slots for a regular character. Yeah, 2 of them were for weapons, 1 was for gadgets. How about maybe 1 will be weapon, 1's gadget, or like, you know, all 3 of them could be gadgets, all 3 of them could be weapons. It's your fucking choice. But no, I was always stuck with 1 gadget, and I would have to fucking go to the menu screen to change my shit up, you know, because I want to do something else now. And like, why? It's like, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
How can you make a game like this? I mean, this is a game about hacking and stuff like that, but so many times they wanted, you know, we had to get the guns out. I wanted to do this whole game without shooting anybody. You know, happy to face hug people with my spider bot and shit, no problem. But if I could have hacked my way through this whole game, that would have been great, because I can shoot people up in a variety of fucking games. And this was supposed to be different.
For the majority of Watch Dogs 2, that's what you could do. You could just hack your way with your drone or your car into a lot of the missions. Whereas this one, it was like the gameplay was so crap as well. It's just like, fuck it, I'll just shoot my way in and out. I just gave up on stuff. I was just like, I'm just going to shoot my way into the building, do the thing, shoot my way out, done. Because it was just easier.
And the hacking as well, it was very minimal. Like a lot of the stuff you required the spider bot. There was places where you would get a fucking spider bot, even though you might not have had one, but you needed one at that particular time, and the game conveniently has a little spider bot box.
Yeah.
For you to get, like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, you run out of ideas, you know what to fucking do and how to deal with the situation. So you thought, fuck it, we'll just put one there just in case somebody hasn't unlocked it, so they're not stuck. You know? So, oh god, it's such a bad game, and I'm so disappointed. I spent money on it. I've completed it. It's very empty, and it's a game set in our city, Ginge. And you know, I was really happy for it. A modern day game in London, none of the old school shit.
That was the future game. It being in London, and it ends up being the most boring setting imaginable.
Yeah,
I agree.
Exactly. Man, look at me. It's me and my spider bot there. But that was one of the things I did like. I ended up getting the one with the turret as well and stuff. But like, you didn't feel like you needed to mix up with your stuff a little bit. I wanted to be able to maybe even to a degree be forced to have to do things differently, but I couldn't do it the way I was generically doing it all the fucking time. Obviously, I'm not talking about guns blazing and stuff like that, but maybe like you need to infiltrate an old people's home, so you need an old fucking person, stuff like that. You know,
yeah.
You know, it was clever to a degree when you had to ask that woman out for a date, but any guy would have done. But they needed more of that, to a degree. And it's just this game. It could have been so much better. It really could have, and they missed the trick. And now there's so much shit's gone on with Ubisoft recently with those scandals which happened, I believe, earlier this year or late last year.
No, it was this year.
Yeah, it's hard to tell nowadays.
Yeah. It started from last year, but it just all came to a boil this year with Surge and some other prick that was working on my most anticipated game of Beyond Good and Evil 2, which does look amazing and very unique in that it's not a typical Ubisoft style game. But they've shit the breads. They're a shitty company. They treat their staff like absolute garbage, which I'm shocked because they're French. And French companies tend to have an all right reputation because their workers have strong unions. But here you find that even in France, they're just bullying and treating their staff like shit. Games are all mediocre.
Yeah, but you're dealing with a company like Ubisoft, and it's got, even though it might be French, it's very much a universal brand, a universal company with people who work for Ubisoft who are from all over the world, including America. And when you get some that corporate mindset involved into a company that might have started having who are ethically sound initially, then things change. I mean, look at even CD Projekt Red. I mean, fucking Chris, she fellatios that fucking that developer to high heaven, and they're coming out with some bad shit, bad publicity recently.
Defending their crunch and defending all of this, and it's like, stop fucking defending companies and their poor ethics.
Yeah, exactly.
CD Projekt Red, the one thing you can defend is they must get paid for their overtime, unlike say in the States or even in the UK where sometimes they don't get paid for overtime. Whereas there they have to.
Yeah.
But you can bet your bottom dollar a lot of them aren't getting fucking paid. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about that piece of shit game.
I'm looking forward with Ubisoft now. They've had some massive downfalls. I'm glad Breaking Point was a failure. Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, they might do well, but they might not necessarily get any critical success. They just sold. It's like FIFA, isn't it? For some people, they have to get it every fucking year, and so that's how it might be seen. I mean, like I take certain critics for face value when it comes to their opinion, but I trust in them, like Yong Ye on YouTube. And he said, he mentioned the genericness of it, and I can relate to that. I played so many Assassin's Creed. I know exactly what the fuck he's talking about in every aspect. Ubisoft needs to change. I'm glad those fuckers are out. It needs to change in various ways. They really need to think outside the box now because they've been in their box for too long. Bobby, got anything to say?
It was all because of the guy Surge. Everything had to go through him.
Yeah.
And he was such a one-track minded person. That's why all the games just ended up becoming like The Division.
Yeah.
Because he liked that style of game and he wanted everything else. Watch Dogs Legion, originally, London looked a lot smaller and a lot more like Division, kind of the way it was. So one of the delays as well was probably opening it up a bit more so you can actually drive around it. Fucking
yeah. Yeah, I didn't like what they did that one minute I'm on Shaftesbury Avenue, and before you know I'm already in Holborn. Like, come on, man, this should be here, that should be there. I mean, look, as somebody who's been around those streets for for a good for 7 years, for over 7 years, some of it was a little bit weird. Like when I was driving around the Duke of Wellington roundabout, I'm thinking to myself, where the fuck's Park Lane? They just built houses there and they blocked it off. There should be. Yeah, that road should be going to fucking Knightsbridge. They've closed it off. They just put some houses there.
There's no Knightsbridge.
Like, what the?
It's just all existent.
Yeah, but instead of like actually making physical barriers, they just made the roads into loops. So there was no real dead. Yeah, so there was no dead end as such. You're kind of more like prisoned in, And I think where the fuck's Regent's Park? Where the fuck? There's no Hyde Park. I mean, these are great spots for the game and stuff like that. I just missed out so much. The Thames as well, that should play the bigger part.
Yeah.
Bob, you got anything to say about Watch Dogs?
I liked Watch Dogs 1. I liked Aiden Pierce, as you all know. I have not played Watch Dogs 2. However, I own it. I bought it for like $10
Really good.
a while back. So I might play it on the gaming channel eventually, just to play it. Watch
Definitely
Dogs
worth
Legion
$10.
doesn't look that interesting to me. I mean, when games like Watch Dogs Legion and Cyberpunk 2077, when they have that aesthetic of just like the Batman and Robin aesthetic of like gritty neon light futuristic type noir, yeah, like
Cyberpunk.
yeah, that stuff just doesn't interest me at all. I mean, Cyberpunk is never, that look has just never interested, and plus
I
it's
love
free
it.
person. So yeah, I don't care for it. I mean, I would love it if they went back to Aiden Pierce. I might actually pick up another game if they did.
He's in free in the DLC.
What?
It's not worth. It's going to be DLC.
No, that if he's, I'm talking like continuing his story.
His story is continued as a DLC. He's a playable character. He's not like he's not like an NPC.
DLC.
Sorry,
yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
it's not worth it if you to get the DLC for sure.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't know. I mean, and listening to you guys talk about it just makes me not even want it even more. I mean, I'd probably enjoy it because I'm a milquetoast gamer. So but at this point, it's like I got to get through 2 first and then decide if I want to go into Legion.
2's great, man.
2's great.
2's great.
Yeah,
Story shit, though.
I like 1 so much. and I know a lot of people hated 1. So it's like,
if
everyone hated 1 and liked 2, that means that it's probably opposite for me. Is I liked 1, so I'm probably going to hate 2. So
no, but like the thing with 1, it was trying to go in a particular direction, funding and stuff with the hacking and stuff like that. And I think 2 kind of got it right. It's a bit like a lot with Ubisoft. They tend to get it right with their sequel, and then they milk the fuck out of it afterwards, which is what they've done with 3. It's a good concept. It really is. I think this could be the future. I could imagine Rockstar taking this on and making a GTA like this, where you could be any character.
GTA.
I really can see
Rockstar are the most fucking dullest gamers out there.
No, but I can see them copying this trend. This is quite experimental, and like this, I can't really recall anything like this where you could be any character in the game.
Well, that's one of my questions was when you can be any character. Like, I kind of feel like you should be like, if you can make your own cohort of people, but then you say you can change. Like, are they active at all times, or can you just change between characters during the?
You can.
But they're not like actively there. Like, you change and then like you
change. You change character and then it loads for ages, and then you've got your other character. You can't.
Yeah, I feel like you should have to like take a team with you.
Yeah, exactly.
You can change between them as you go. Like, I mean, if it just feels
there
like
was one moment like that, but that was part of the story mode.
Exactly where you were, right? It doesn't load at like the beginning of the mission, so the person just appears where you were.
Well, they're basically split into 2 areas. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Like in one level in the game, and there's only one because it's kind of surprising they didn't do this more. They tell you, okay, one of you guys needs to go over here, and then somebody else will go over there. So it's basically telling you that you guys have to split the team up. So even if you have a favorite, you can't use him for both missions. Somebody else has to do it. So you tend to use somebody who's capable, and that's about it. But you never really bring a team along, and you should do. I think they should put more people who are specialists in particular things, like a hacker, like a brawler. A brawler shouldn't be able to hack at all. It might be frustrating in the gameplay, but for fuck's sake, if he's there to use his fists and not his brains, then make him like that.
Yeah,
I agree. Well, it should have been like Ultimate Alliance. You've got your quartet of team and you switch characters.
Yeah, no, that is what I was talking about. Is I agree with is you pick your 4 people and you're in it, and you just make do with what you have. You can switch between your people, but like they're not. I guess they could be together all the time if you need them to be, or maybe you can go on the map of there and say, hey, I want you to go over here, you to go over here, and then you can switch.
You could delegate missions as well, but you can't even do that in this. You can't fucking do anything.
Yeah.
Nothing.
You've
It's
got the
just
magic phone that
so
unlocks everything.
basic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Anyway,
like even the hacker himself shouldn't be somebody who could be able to get his gun out and then pick out a few fucking cops, but he does. You know, the hacker should be a feeble dweeb who, the moment something dangerous happens, he shits himself. But that's
yeah,
why he's on his computer.
With the gun swaps in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he might have
Anyway,
some negative attributes that he might give up your squad or something like that. You know, easily intimidated. You know, something like that. You know, oh god, they've missed out. Anyway, I'm sorry for dragging this. Fuck you. This is pretty much a fuck you to Ubisoft, and we've done many fuck yous to Ubisoft. I do expect them to come up with better games in the future. I'm holding out hope because they've got so much negative publicity. A lot of games haven't done well, you know, and even these games, even if they do well, they're going to be shitted on because they follow this.
Games companies is just running thin now. It's very shallow, and I mean that ones that make good games don't necessarily have to be like angels, but just make good games. And that pool is wearing thin. Like fucking hell, my favorite game of 2020 was Call of Duty. Call of Duty. It's a great game. But that shouldn't be like that. There should be a game that's just like, I enjoyed playing it, but it wasn't my favorite game of 2020. But it was. Genshin. What a pile of disappointing shit that ended up being. Started off amazing, but within 2 weeks I was bored because it was just the same gameplay. Everything's locked off because it's a free game, so everything's monetized or locked off at level, so you have to grind. Just that's why
Goes to Tsushima for me this year. Goes to Tsushima this year. But Ghost of Tsushima would be my game for this year. That game was brilliant and beautiful. Good story, not great story, good story. The gameplay, unfortunately, did get repetitive, but there was a uniqueness to it. And because it was made by different developers, it had that Assassin's Creed vibe, but it was how they're doing it. They're not doing it the Ubisoft way, you know, and that was reasonably refreshing to have a different approach. This guy couldn't climb everything, but there were places where he can climb, for instance, you know. So I enjoyed the game for what it was. It's got some multiplayer as well. That's not too great. It's very much like a horde mode.
Yeah,
where you're hacking. Yeah, it wasn't that great. But I've got the new Game Plus on it, and I'll play it again and see, because I thoroughly enjoyed the game for what it was. And let's hope Ubisoft brings out something great. Anything to add, fellas?
No, that's it.
Fantasy VII Remake was my favorite game this year. Just saying.
Yeah, fair enough. Why is that?
Because it's Final Fantasy VII, and it was an amazing game.
Okie dokie, no problem. Well, we're going to be back talking Discovery season. Actually, we might do a fan thingy, or should we do that for next week, Bob?
Let's do that. We did this week. Let's do that. Maybe
next week.
Next week if we have time.
Okay, if anyone likes their Star Trek, we'll be doing a commentary over a fan film, and whether we like it or not. And some of the fan films are fantastic, so you might appreciate that if you like your Star Trek. And talking Star Trek, we'll be doing a Discovery review on Thursday, and talking Star Wars, we'll be doing a Mandalorian review on Friday. We've got the most recent episodes already on our channel, so check that out now if you're watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe, follow our Discord, look for the Nerd Nation logo, whether it's on Facebook, Discord, YouTube. That's us. You guys want to promote your shit?
Follow me on Ginger Greek channel.
There you go. Thank you very much.
I have a gaming channel over Milquetoast Gaming. I'll put a link for all of us in the description. Also, Milquetoast on Twitch. That's it.
Cool.
Okie dokes. I'm Demario01 on Twitch. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. I'll catch you guys later. Bye bye.